Thank you.
Okay, welcome everybody, and thank you. And I'm so happy to be here on the East Coast. I haven't been to New York since the mid-'80s.
It's changed a bit.
You know, it's changed a bit. A little bit about myself. My family came from Slovakia, and they came through Ellis Island. My dad was a pilot, B-17 pilot in World War II, and flew missions, 30 missions, and survived to come home. I don't know if you've seen Masters of the Air, the Apple series, but it recreates that wartime very realistically. My parents settled in Southern California in a desert town called Hesperia. 300 people. We had a railroad station, a general store, and a schoolhouse that was built in the 1800s. And I actually went to school in the schoolhouse for kindergarten. And that's when I discovered I was an artist. I had clay, I had pastels, I was in the play, Goldilocks. I could be creative. I made a teddy bear with brads and the legs and arms and articulated. I was like, the teacher told my mother, she said, if you don't buy this kid art supplies, she's going to paint your house. And it was true, because I carved up our zinc mahogany TV screen. And I think you have to hold this in a particular way.
Yeah, you do.
And I carved my drawings into my mom's white calf leather purse. So it was, anything blank was available to me. I was also a voracious reader. We had a bookmobile that came to town twice a month. And the bookmobile librarian, I'll never forget her, she was just amazing. Mrs. Jones had a bowl cut haircut and big thick glasses. But she would bring all kinds of wonderful books to me, and the most incredible books I read were the ones on science and science fiction. So science fiction was like huge thing that influenced me. Also at the time, my dad, who was working at the local Air Force base, he was an electrical engineer, and he joined the Air Force Reserves because he loved to fly. And he flew everything from those big transport planes where you drive a truck in to F-15 jets. And he had this silver pressure suit with a big silver visored helmet. He would hang it in the back laundry room so he could fly on the weekends. And that was like science fiction to me, man. My dad was part of these novels that I was reading, And I'd go to the air shows and I'd watch him fly, and it would just give me goosebumps. Anyway, I went to college after 18 years there at Long Beach State University and majored in art. And I was going to be a drawing and painting major because that's what I loved. But I met Al Pine, who was teaching a 3D design class, and he was a jewelry instructor. The painting teachers turned out to be way less than inspirational. They would set up a still life, go back in their office and putter away at something. They weren't teaching students. So this was the 70s. And Al loved teaching. In fact, I learned to be a teacher from Al. So Al seduced me over into the metals department. And that's where I ended up. So I got my degree there, and I took a year off and worked, and decided to go back for an MFA. Got my MFA from Long Beach. And then my partner, I was teaching at the time, community college classes here and there. My partner Karen said, why don't we start a business and we'll do the ACC craft shows. And we did the first one in San Francisco, and then I did about 10 years of work with Karen, and I'll tell you about that as soon as I start my slideshow. Okay, the title of my slideshow is Infinite Creativity, AI and Jewelry Design. And you'll see why in just a second. Get this to work. Here we go. Okay, so this is a page from my 1978 sketchbook. And at the time, I'd go down to the basement of the university library, and they had all the periodicals there. You could just browse. And I remember this is probably about 1978. I discovered Journal Leonardo, and it's a journal of science and art. And I found out that there were artists who were using rudimentary computers as drawing machines. And they were drawing on they were taking the technology of plotter that would do architectural drawings, and they would program it to do a drawing. And I was just like so hooked on that. I was like, I want to be part of that. Electronic music, I started getting into electronic music, and I was convinced that I wanted to work with the machine. So these are two silver neck pieces from my work that I did during my NFA program in 1978. And they were based on body devices that you could wear that would affect your environment in a certain way. And there was no real electronics in this, but I was working on that. I was like, I'm going to get to that. And so I started discovering plastics, and some of these things you're going to recognize. Those are diffuser panels from fluorescent lighting, and it's just scrap. And we have this tradition, Karen and I, of going to scrap yards and picking up amazing pieces of materials that were just discarded. And that stuff is styrene. And so here it is set in silver. And I'm like, you know, use everything. If it looks good, use it. But about this time, there was speculators who were driving up the price of silver like it's happening right now. And I started looking at alternative materials. So, plastics. Plastics became very important to me. This is the 80s. I wanted color. I really wanted to work with color. And some of those things are found, like these little pieces right here are earring backs that are fused into heat shrink tubing and painted. I would just take things and put them together because they looked good together. And a lot of painting, these are electronic. This is when I first started using LEDs. The center sections light up right here. And these pieces were in the Jewelry USA show in 1985 at the American Craft Museum. And Karen and I, this is the work we did together. And I'm going to sit down so you can see this a little better. But this is how we recycled our plastics. We cut up all the pieces and then recast them in resin. And we were doing resin cutting or laser cutting with a sign company back in the 80s. They didn't have a computer, they had a plotter that would take your drawing and scan it and plot it and cut plastic with it with a laser. So all that stuff is laser cut. And now we get to Star Trek. So we were at a show in Santa Monica, a craft show in Santa Monica, and Bill Tice, who was the original designer for the original series, came to our booth and said, "Do you guys know anything about, fixing these little buttons on the collars of our uniforms?" Because they had somebody who was casting them and they were putting like earring backs on them to hold them on. But the problem was that the backs weren't strong enough and they would fall off. And in films where on the sound stage, they have a false floor. And the false floor has cracks in it. So they always fall in the floor, get lost, right? So they were losing all these pieces. And it was a very important part of the show because it was the rank of the character. So what we did was we used ear-piercing studs, and we cast it right into the bronze. And these are Captain Picard's actual rank dips, right here. And I know that because when they would send them back to us to get adjusted, to be tightened up a little bit, we keep them and then send them new ones. Because we knew they were on the show and they were valuable because the character had worn them. And I saw a set on eBay for like $3,500 recently. I have 2 sets. The pieces on the left, we would get graphics from their graphic designer Michael Okuda. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He was very famous for all their displays on the bridge of the ship. And he would send us the graphics, fax it to us, and we would take it around the corner to his printer and have him etch it, photo etch it into zinc. Now this is in the 80s, we didn't have a computer, to do this. And what we did was we would just polish it up, cut it, paint it or whatever, and then glue it all together. Because when things are on film, it doesn't really matter if you glue it, you'll never see that. The camera never sees that. And then the centerpiece, we did a bunch of accessories for a character in Star Trek VI, a Klingon ambassador's daughter. Her name was Zetber. And this is an armband that we made out of aluminum. And we were like heating and fusing aluminum so it would look kind of corroded. We did a bunch of things for them, but we don't have a lot of photographs. Major Barrett was one of the characters we made jewelry for. She was Loxana Troy's mother. She was an over-the-top fashionista and bossy lady. And she bossed Captain Picard around. Nice, I guess. Anyway, we made earrings for her and other jewelry. And this is another character. Sometimes they would have a symbol that we would have to recreate. And that was like a symbol for their, it's like a spiritual overlord of their society. And so both the men and the women wore these things. Well, the conundrum was that these people were very active and healthy and they would like run everywhere. So we had to make sure that those pieces fit so they wouldn't flop up and down when these people were so active. That was a challenge. So that's why it's so snug on her neck. So Karen passed away in 2020 and I helped her mother clean out her studio. And she left me all the old material that we had worked on together. And so these are some pieces that where I'm combining acrylic from the 80s with new pieces. And this piece on the right has 2 layers of screen printed acrylic, and when you turn it, you get a moire effect. And inside it is a piece of dichroic glass. That's astral passage. That's this piece on the table here. I also do a lot of 2-dimensional work. I've done a lot of drawing and painting over the years. And I love to do things based on generative media. Generative art is where you have an element of something that comes in and creates randomness in the expression of what you're making. And so this is a 3D fractal program called Mandelwelt 3D. And you're probably familiar with fractals. Anybody not know what fractals are? You've seen the repetition of the edge, the fractal design. There's a guy named Benoit Mandelbrot who originally came up with a mathematical formula for fractals. Well, in 2010, these 2 people came up with this program that took the flat fractal and rotated it in 3D space, so you could animate it just like Toy Story. You could fly a camera through it. And so this piece could be animated if I wanted to. It takes a lot of computer power, but this is one of the pieces that I really love from that series that I was working on. This is a more recent piece, and remember, all these things are three-dimensional objects in 3D space. There is another program called Wearable that also does this particular kind of generative art. So in 22, I found out about AI, text-to-image generation. And I was like, oh yeah, I've got to try this. This is like really amazing. So I wanted to see what it would do with fractals. So I wanted to design fractal landscapes. This is a program called Midjourney. Midjourney, at this point, was not what it is today. They keep developing it, and it keeps getting better. But you can see there are fractal elements in this repetitious crenulations on all the edges here. And I said, fractal landscape was part of my prompt. But those clouds are just the most amazing thing I've ever seen in terms of clouds. They look like frozen water, frozen vapor. And then I started compositing my AI renders in Photoshop. And this is the deal in the desert. It started out with me asking for a steel ball gown. And to me, women really have an armor that they wear in their everyday lives, because we have to think about things that men don't have to. Like maybe you have to be careful in the parking lot or something like that at night. But the steel ball gown is kind of like an anomaly, because the ball gown is like the ultimate feminine accessory, right? And if I make it out of steel, it becomes armor. It becomes tough. It becomes something that constricts you, but it protects you. So the first render I did was the woman and the steel ball gown. Somehow a robot got into it. I'm not sure. And the machine in the background. And then these three figures are the fates. I wanted armored women depicting the fates. And then in the corner, there's kind of a vortex from one of those renders I did of the fractal landscapes. So I came up with this, and it just kind of floored me. I started doing drawings about it, I started doing paintings of it, and I was like, this is exactly what I want to do with this. And then I animated it.
Wow.
Now this is like the first animation. I did some others that are more developed. But Midjourney started giving you the ability to animate. And look at the machine. It's just this, it's like wild. You know, it's out of control. And she's bargaining with this robot, you know, it's like. All right, so AI is IA. What I decided about AI was it's my intelligent assistant. It's not real smart most of the time, but I think I can work with it at this point to get things that I want. So I said, why don't I start using it to design jewelry? And at this point I was thinking, yes, I should do that. I had just come back from Egypt and I saw the most amazing big collars, big ceremonial collars, and I thought, I need to make some jewelry that's operatic. Like someone would wear in an opera, a space opera, you know, on stage. It's like, stage an incredible opera that make it look like a science fiction story. And so you feed the AI program something called a prompt. That's your text. And this is a large, round, octagon lighted pendant. And that's exactly what I asked for. So this is one of the ones I got. And how do I make that bring that into reality in the real world. So I traced it in Illustrator and then went ahead and laser cut it. And I never finished this piece. I might in the future, but what I got over here was very industrial. Like it was an industrial process that made that, like stamping, you know. It looks like it was machine made. When I make it by hand, something different is going to happen. These are two other versions. They get very mechanical, but they're beautiful. Really, I had so many beautiful pieces that came out that I'm going to take a long time to go through it. Okay, these are the pieces that really just floored me. I wanted a big lighted collar, like a futuristic big disc neck piece with colored lights. I wanted it big, like a chest, covered the whole chest. And it gave me a model. I didn't ask for one, but I got one. And I went, this is just unreal. You know, it's making me think about things that I probably wouldn't have thought about, you know? That's the value of it.
You'll need to unlock your iPhone first.
More variations. You can ask the program for different variations and add more qualifiers. And then this is how I started. I laser etched acrylic and cut out some copper pieces and some mirrored acrylic and made some silver rivets and added some LED electronics. It still isn't exactly what I'm looking for. I think this piece needs to be more flexible, but you know, it's an experiment. So here are the two pieces together. And this piece on the right is a collar for an order of mystic astronomers. And I call it the Order of the Seventh Ray. And that's why it has all the celestial symbols etched into it. So there's some similarities, but it turned out different. It looks more handmade.
And we have this piece here on the table. The pieces on the table.
Oh yeah, it's on the table over there. Yeah, you can go and look at it. Okay, so this is Adobe Firefly. Adobe's made a big leap into AI. They just had their, in October, their big Adobe Max conference in LA. And it's still online if you're interested. But Firefly does text to image, text to video. And what I did with this was I took the Mid-Journey image right here and uploaded this image from Mid-Journey as part of the prompt. This is the text prompt, this is the image, and they work together to form an output. So this is what I got. And I wanted an exotic model. And it gave me not just women, but a man. Looks great on it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, so anybody can use this if you have an Adobe ID. I pay a fee for the Adobe programs every month, but I think they're letting people use this for free right now. I'm not sure. You have to check with them. And this piece is a video from Adobe Firefly that shows you the model turning with the piece on. And what's cool about this is I'm able to see behind it and kind of figure out, well, how is this made? Or how does the AI think this could be made? So I'll show you that again. It's kind of quick. Oops. So you can see the thickness of the material.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the benefit of the AI, being able to show video, because you can say, turn the model around, show me the back of the piece. You know what I'm saying? I could probably ask Okay, don't put on a model, show me the back of it, right? Show me how it's made. That's kind of the next step. Okay, so, okay, the one in the corner over here that's lit up, the Society of Perpetual Surveillance. I'm a big fan of Ai Weiwei, the Chinese artist, and I have one of his prints that's about surveillance. And we have so much surveillance happening in our lives. And if you're in a totalitarian system, authoritarian government, you're going to have lots and lots of surveillance everywhere. So I kind of imagined a society of people that were doing all this. Who are these people that are doing this, and what would they wear as kind of some kind of ceremonial neck piece? So the one I picked out was this one over to the left, and it kind of defies gravity. And that was something I was finding with some of the AI stuff. It was like, they wouldn't like lay things down. But I traced it in Illustrator and took a screenshot of my drawing so you could see the genesis of it. This is how it started out. I sandblasted the little symbols on there, the cameras. The whole thing kind of reminded me of a surveillance camera, the shape. And I think that's what happened with this. And etched some titanium, added some lights, a little Prismacolor, and there we go. This one is actually pretty wearable. Okay, so Midjourney allows you to load source images. And so these are all renders. These are all images that I would use for a source render. So if I'm going to make something like this, I could use something like this. I can load as many of these as I want, and then I would also put in a text prompt. So it's going to work with all of that. And I found that the first image you put in seems to be the most dominant one for some reason. So this is a great example of something simple. Okay, these are titanium pieces that I had laser cut. I made the drawing in Illustrator. Actually, I hand drew it, and then I traced it in Illustrator, so I had a nice clean drawing to send to my laser cutter. And then they're going to be hammered, textured, worked, anodized. But I thought, maybe I should visualize them in maybe other things. So I loaded these in, added a prompt, and this is the image tracing in Illustrator. And then I also got a piece out of this for a wraparound bracelet, which is this. So this was another idea for making something out of heat bent acrylic using this drawing, just stretching it, enlarging it. I think every jewelry designer should know Illustrator. That's just my take on the whole thing. There's a free program called Inkscape. It's free, and you can just start learning it. But you need to do vector-based drawings that are clean, you can hand cut with a jeweler saw using nice clean drawings, not sketches. Okay, so text to image is great, but how about text to 3D? This was the holy grail. It's like, can I make 3D objects so I can put in my 3D printer? Well, I tried this, and the mesh is not great. I had to do a lot of repair on the mesh, but this is a program you can play with, and there are other programs that are coming out, and they're getting better and better. So there is a possibility that you can do text to 3D, and then bring it into a 3D program, clean it up, and send it to your 3D printer. I'm trying to think, there's another, there are services that will do this for you too. Oh, that's what I want to say. You can go into ChatGPT and you can ask for 3D models too. So you can ask ChatGPT for something in 3D. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm probably going to, just to see what it looks like. So this is my most recent stuff, and you don't always have to use AI to get inspiration. I collect space toys, and this is one of my 1950s ray gun that I have. I have a lot of robots. And so Reveler is a 3D printed piece with laser cut acrylic, powder coated steel, and electronics, and I have it over here. And I wanted to do something that was kind of old school science fiction, but still very kind of scary, like sending out a warning. I think it's, go ahead and turn it on. No, for some reason it's not going on. Anyway, so yeah, you don't always need AI to do your design work, but I seriously suggest you try it. So, in terms of the future, Gene Roddenberry was kind of a visionary. He saw a future where there was no hunger, no disease, where people didn't use money because there was so much abundance. The replicator in Star Trek, if everybody had a replicator, we wouldn't be starving all over the world. You know, it's like replicators take matter and break it down at a molecular level and build it back into a new thing. In a way, it's kind of like 3D printing, but far into the future. He really saw a post-scarcity society. And I think that's what we're moving towards. We're moving towards that. It's just, we have to be aware of all the new technologies that are coming online. I mean, fusion energy is just right around the corner. And California's already producing the majority of its power from renewable sources, our state. And we're really excited about that. So I think technology is going to be the answer to a lot of our problems. This is how we use it. So I'd like to see if there's anything else I have here. There's some links for you. And take questions if you want to ask questions. Anybody have questions?
And also, I invite you, because we do have such an intimate space here, Teri has the pieces. You can interact with her. You can be touching the pieces, turning them on, asking her questions as we go as well.
Yeah.
And just to remind you that we are a nonprofit. This is the soft launch of the Wearable Art Museum. And if you are not members yet, please consider joining with an entry-level membership. And anything you purchase today, you will receive a discount on those sales. So you can ask Teri in a group, or I suggest. So this is all of her work is in this room, right behind Michael as well. There are all kinds of pieces.
Yeah, any questions? Yes.
You seem to be much more optimistic about AI than a lot of the artists and even some of the AI scientists I know. What sets you apart?
Because there are entities that recognize that creative work needs to be protected. Adobe is only using their own artists who they pay to gain, to get images for training the AI. So all of that is legit. There's nobody whose work is being ripped off. I think it was a Wild West for a while. And Adobe recognized that you have to have some scruples when you work with people. The other thing is when you do an AI object using Adobe Firefly, it brands the object that it is AI. It does a code on it. So, there are a lot of bad actors out there who are using AI to make fake things that they try and sell to people. You've probably seen that. right? So, I mean, there's always going to be somebody out there who's going to try and use it for nefarious purposes. But I really think that it's something we need to be informed about. So if you want to learn more about AI, there's a newsletter you get from a group called AI Secret. And AI Secret gives you all the lowdown on all the companies and what they're doing and what they're up to. And keep an eye on it. You know, we need to be informed and aware.
I guess I meant something a little different though, because in a world where anybody can pretty much go in and prompt an AI to make an image, to me that kind of devalues digital art. But the thing you do, maybe turning digital into things that exist in reality, is much rarer. So
I think
is that a thing other people are doing? Because I haven't heard.
I just sold my AI books. People are buying my prints, my AI prints, because they're incredible. And they recognize the fact that it wouldn't exist without me. You know, it wouldn't exist without my imagination. The AI is nothing. It's like a set of paints until the artist steps in and starts giving it the idea. So I think it's going to take some time. I know when photography first came out, gave artists the freedom to improvise with art. It opened the door for abstract expressionism, abstraction, all the different styles that came after photography. It gave artists the opportunity to be imaginative and not have to be chained to depicting reality. So it's a big change, and I know a lot of people are against it, but I think it's because they don't understand it fully. Yeah.
I know you gave an annotated version of the creation of, let's say, this piece right here. But in using AI and that software, does it also inform the connections and, I mean, how it's all put together? I mean,
No.
the clasp,
No,
how the
it's not.
electronics is put in.
No, that's not telling me any of that.
So you do that.
I have to do all that.
So
In fact,
that's what I
thought,
meant by annotated.
yeah,
You have them help you create a shape.
it was a vision. It gave me a vision. But the thing is, that was a really hard work. I had to figure out, how am I going to make this stuff? You know, it's like, it's beautiful, it's crazy, it's wonderful. It's like, it's imaginative, but it's exactly something that I want to work with. But how do I make it real?
And then that's how you actually add the hand to it. Because I don't want to buy plastic jewelry made by a machine.
No, everything I make is handmade, and even things that are modeled in the computer, like my kitty brooch or kitty necklace, this is sculpted by hand inside the computer in Blender with a stylus drawing tablet. I have to actually mold the 3D. I start with a sphere, and I have to actually mold it and shape it to make a sculpture. So it's all done by hand, even though the machine, the 3D printer, prints it out. Right. Yeah.
I am a student of design, and it's really that people have prejudice with AI because a lot of people think that the AI, like, you can ask something and then will develop for you, but it's not in that way. I think you have to create an idea and the AI will help you. But have a big problem because AI is a development really fast. Like in 2 weeks, we can see a lot of new things and improving the AI. And it's really fast, and the law is accomplished with the AI. I want to know more about how you can have control of your job, and like, is your job and your design, how you can protect your
Well, right now, the U.S. Copyright Office doesn't recognize my AI prints as being able to be copyrighted, but that's being challenged. There's the guy who did an AI piece and submitted it to Colorado Colorado Art Festival and won the top prize. Have you seen that? And they found out about it, and it was AI generated. There was a huge uproar. But I think it's going to be challenged because it is the intellectual property of the author, no matter how it is expressed. You know, I mean, even if you use something to interpret, if I write a story and I use some machine language to interpret it into colors, that's still my intellectual property. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me back there?
Now you can, yeah.
Okay. You know, microphones are like, microphones. Anyway. No, there's a lot of questions, and you know, I'm not a person who likes controversy. I kind of steer away from it. But when I got involved with this, I was like, there's so much controversy, and people are like attacking it. And I really want to get involved with this, and it was so incredible working with it. I thought, you know, I can't not do this. I have to follow this. And I have to make sure that I do my best to really understand it. And you're right, it changes very quickly. From 2022 to now, it's changed a lot.
Too bad it uses up so many natural resources. It's terrible for the environment.
Well, in terms of the environment and all the render farms that they have, that's going to be a problem that will be solved because there's technology being developed right now to store information via light waves. And that uses a fraction of the energy that silicon chips use. And we will be storing all of our information via light waves, via light, and not silicon. And that will cut down hugely on the amount of energy that's required for, you know, a big render server farm. Yeah, you're right. It is intensive. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I definitely invite you to come and play in this space of space. There are rings that she has, the activator rings, so please enjoy. Yes, there you go. I love that one. That's that deep orange. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy. We have refreshments.